Some people gradually realize that the world makes more sense when experienced from a smaller, quieter radius. They shape their days around home and solitude, while others expand outward through constant engagement. Socially, this pattern is often labeled quickly, without much curiosity. Still, it may point to a psychological structure that protects continuity by limiting exposure. If this reflection feels uncomfortably accurate, subscribe and stay with us as we look beneath the surface together, not escaping the world, but moving toward peace. People often assume that staying at home is a quiet form of avoidance, a step backward from life. But for many, it is not a retreat from the world at all. It is a movement toward something gentler, toward a pace that feels human again. The outside world can feel like a room where the lights are always too bright and the noise never fades. Choosing home is sometimes choosing to dim that light, to let the nervous system breathe. I imagine someone closing the door at the end of the day, not in defeat, but in relief. The silence is not empty. It is soft, like fresh sheets after a long journey. There is nothing broken in this instinct. It is simply a different direction of movement, and perhaps peace, for some, has always lived indoors, waiting patiently to be noticed. Home as a sanctuary, not a hiding place. From the outside, home can look like a hiding place. Four walls, familiar routines, the same chair by the window. But for those who love staying in, home is less about hiding and more about anchoring. It is where the mind stops bracing itself, where the body loosens its grip. Inside these spaces, there is permission to be unfinished, unpolished, quiet. I picture a dimly lit room in the evening, a cup cooling on the table, the soft hum of nothing in particular. This is not fear shrinking inward. It is safety expanding outward. Wanting a sanctuary does not mean rejecting the world. It means needing a place where the soul can rest without explanation. And rest, when it is real, is not avoidance. It is preparation, even if no one is rushing anywhere. An active and deep inner world. It is easy to mistake stillness for emptiness. Quiet people often carry that misunderstanding like a shadow. Yet inside them, there is motion that never stops. Thoughts fold into one another. Memories surface, dissolve, return in new shapes. The inner world becomes a landscape that rewards time and attention. Staying home offers the space to wander there without interruption. I think of someone sitting alone, doing nothing that looks important, while entire conversations, ideas, and emotions quietly unfold within. There is richness here that does not need an audience. This depth is not created by isolation, but revealed by it. And there is nothing unnatural about needing fewer external inputs when your inner world already speaks in many voices. Solitude versus loneliness. Society often treats solitude and loneliness as the same thing, as if being alone must always mean being deprived. But they are not twins. They are distant relatives who feel very different in the body. Loneliness feels sharp, like an unanswered knock. Solitude feels spacious, like a room with the windows open. People who love staying home often understand this difference intuitively. They know the relief of choosing aloneness, of settling into it like a familiar rhythm. I imagine an evening spent quietly, not waiting for anyone, not missing anyone, simply existing. This state does not deny connection. It preserves it. By honoring solitude, they protect themselves from a deeper loneliness that comes from being surrounded yet unseen. And that distinction, once felt, is hard to forget. Why quiet people are often misunderstood. The world tends to trust what is visible: loudness, movement, constant participation. Quiet people disrupt that expectation. Their choices are harder to read, so they are often filled in with assumptions, disinterest, fear, social failure. But much of this misunderstanding comes from projection. When someone is comfortable with less noise, it unsettles those who need more. I picture a gathering where one person listens more than they speak, their silence mistaken for absence. Yet inside, they are fully there, absorbing tone, mood, small shifts in energy. Being misunderstood is not proof of being wrong. It is sometimes proof of moving differently, and not everything meaningful announces itself clearly. Some things are felt only when you slow down enough to notice. Emotional depth, sensitivity, and self-awareness. People who prefer home often feel things deeply, sometimes more deeply than they would like. The world presses in hard, and every sound, every expectation lands with weight. Sensitivity here is not fragility, it is responsiveness. Staying home becomes a way of managing that openness without closing off completely. I think of someone alone in their room, processing a conversation long after it ended, replaying words not out of obsession, but care. This emotional depth requires space. Without it, feelings blur and overwhelm. With it, awareness grows. There is nothing excessive about needing gentler environments. It is simply the cost of feeling fully. And that cost is not a flaw. It is a feature that asks for understanding, not correction. Creativity and meaning, born in silence. Silence is often treated as empty time, something to be filled. But for many homebodies, silence is where things finally take shape. Ideas arrive softly. Meaning assembles itself without pressure. Creativity here is not loud or performative. It is slow, private, almost shy. I imagine someone staring out a window, seemingly idle, while a sentence, a realization, or a quiet truth forms beneath the surface. These moments do not survive constant interruption. They need stillness the way seeds need soil. Choosing silence is not rejecting action. It is choosing a different source of movement. And what grows there may never seek applause, but it often feels deeply alive to the one who found it. Protecting peace in an overstimulated world. Modern life rarely pauses. Notifications blink. Voices overlap. Demands multiply for those who love staying home. This constant stimulation can feel like standing in heavy rain without shelter. Home becomes the umbrella, not to escape forever, but to dry off. Protecting peace is an active choice, not a passive withdrawal. I picture someone turning off their phone, closing the curtains, allowing their senses to settle. This is not weakness. It is discernment, knowing when enough is enough. In a world that rewards endurance, choosing rest can look suspicious, but peace is not laziness. It is maintenance. And without it, even the strongest minds begin to fray at the edges. Choosing fewer but deeper connections. There is a quiet selectiveness in people who love staying home. They often choose relationships the way others choose books, carefully, intentionally, aware of their limits. Fewer connections does not mean less love. It often means more presence. I imagine a small circle, conversations that wander without hurry, silences that feel safe rather than awkward, depth requires time and energy, both of which are finite. By staying home, these individuals conserve what they need to show up fully when it matters. This is not social rejection. It is relational honesty. Not every connection needs to be wide to be meaningful. Some only need to be deep enough to hold what is real. Self-companionship and the quiet strength of homebodies. Perhaps the most misunderstood strength of homebodies is their ability to be with themselves, alone, without distraction, without performance. This kind of self-companionship is learned slowly. It grows from many quiet evenings, many moments of sitting with thoughts rather than escaping them. I picture someone comfortable in their own presence, not because life is easy, but because they have practiced staying. This strength is not loud. It does not announce itself. It hums softly beneath the surface. Being at home with oneself does not mean rejecting others. It means not needing to disappear when no one else is around. And there is something quietly powerful about that kind of presence, even if it is rarely seen. Some people arrive at understanding not through noise or motion, but through quiet moments that settle slowly, like light fading at the end of the day. What appears still from the outside often carries a quiet presence within, a way of being that doesn't need to prove itself to feel real. There is something deeply human in that choice, not an answer, but a recognition that life can be lived inwardly without disappearing. If this resonates, it may be because this pull toward quiet has long shaped how you rest, observe, and return to yourself, not as a rule, but as a pattern that existed before it had a name. From there, another thought naturally follows: how some people also choose not to leave images of themselves online, not out of fear, but from the same instinct to protect inner space over outward display. And that thought doesn't quite end here.